Blog Talk Radio.
Alternative facts.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. At 12:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, numerous unidentified objects of unknown intent and unknown origin were detected at high altitudes over multiple locations of Earth's outer space by the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, and these objects are presumed to be some form of controlled aircraft. It is not known if more of these aircraft will arrive, or if they will attempt entering Earth's atmosphere. United States citizens are encouraged to monitor local media outlets, as more updates will follow as information becomes available. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. Attacks by the undead have been reported in several states across the country. The dead are rising from their graves and are attacking the human race. At this time, it is expected that more attacks of this nature will occur in several other states in the next few hours. The intent behind their attack is unknown at this time. He has been observed at a bike or method of transmission. This is an extremely dangerous situation if they crave the taste of human flesh. It is not known whether this event will last for hours, days, or even longer. Stay calm, as authorities have been dispatched to deal with these creatures. An all-clear siren will be sounded when this situation is under control. Pacific Standard Time, nor is detected a long-range nuclear missile launcher. This missile is believed to be headed in the direction of all residents within a 400-mile radius of this area should seek a fallout shelter immediately.
Welcome to Within the Chaos with your host, Rodney the Viking Shortridge, co-host, Melinda the Raven Jackson. Want to give a big old shout out to the Facebook paranormal groups that allow us to post our shows on their pages and helping us to get the word out about all of our guests. Also, a shout out to the Connor sisters. Hats off to Misty and Ashley. They are the founders of SOS Sisters of Salem Paranormal Research Society and host of their podcast, Paranormal Party. You can find them on Facebook under Paranormal Party. If anyone would like to speak to Black Diamond Paranormal Society, BDPS, to discuss your paranormal questions or issues, go to our website at blackdiamondps.org or email blackdiamondps@yahoo.com. As always, our services are free.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. You can listen in by calling 516-387-1922, or you can go to the Vibe Radio Network website at blogtalkradio.com/Vibe Radio Network. For deep within the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for listening to Within the Chaos. My name is Rodney Shortridge, and I'll be your host tonight, along with my beautiful raven, Melinda Jackson. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to my cousins up in Ohio, Jennifer and Joe Shortridge of 222 Paranormal. If you get a chance, check out their talk show. You can find them on Facebook under 222 Paranormal. Well, howdy, everybody. Sorry about the 17-minute delay, but Blog Talk technology, I don't think it's up to date with today's technology.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Sometimes we have this problem, but thank goodness I was able to work it through. But I'll go ahead and hurry up and get through this and get our guest on. Tonight, our special guest is Dave Spinks. Dave is a paranormal cryptid investigator and author of West Virginia Bigfoot. Dave has been researching and investigating the paranormal since 1986 in various aspects, due to several experiences he has had as a young man. He retired from over a 20-year career in the U.S. military and federal law enforcement in 2011. Since that time, he has investigated the paranormal on a full-time basis and has conducted several hundred investigations during his time researching the supernatural. Dave not only investigates hauntings, he investigates reports of strange creatures as well as UFO encounters. He has investigated some of the most notoriously reportedly haunted locations in the U.S. and several in Europe. So, Melinda, quickly, how was your week?
I'm almost over the flu. I'm great.
It was not quick. You should say, yeah, good, go.
Don't you give me a hard time.
I'm just picking. Well, it's my honor to welcome our special guest, Dave Spinks. And, thank you, Dave, for understanding the tech problems. And also, it's an honor to have you on the show. And I want to thank you for your service for our country, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, I totally understand the tech problems. I've done hundreds of these podcasts, and it doesn't always go smooth, let me tell you. It just is what it is, roll with the punches.
That's right. Last year we had it was like 2 or 3 months. It was terrible. We might have got like two shows in a month, and I kept fussing at Blog Talk, and they kept fussing back. It's not our problem. Bullshit. But anyway, well, I'll go ahead and get it started. Dave, there again, thank you for coming on, being patient. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and, what started you on the path, into the paranormal world.
Yeah, it's, like you said, I was in the military for 8 years active duty, and then I did a year in the Army National Guard. Then I went into federal law enforcement and did my 20 years government time and got out. And then I went full-time with what I do in the paranormal, which I've been doing during all my working years, but I just never went public with it. What started me out was me and my grandpa were fishing here in West Virginia when I was 13, and we had an encounter with what you could only call as a Bigfoot, and scared the living hell out of me. As a young man, I was 13, but at the same time, I was very, I wanted to know answers as what the heck what it was we saw and what threw these giant rocks at us from across the river, and didn't go into the woods for several years. It took me a long time to get my courage back, and, because that was a very, just unnerving event, when you see what I saw, there's no taking that back. And, I didn't even know at that age, I had never heard of Bigfoot, didn't know what it was, didn't know what the Patterson was, none of that stuff. And, I started going to the local libraries, trying to find information. I would come across newspaper articles every now and then and magazine articles, and then I saw the show In Search Of, and happened to see an episode about Bigfoot and said, wow, that's what I saw. And I realized then that many other people were seeing this thing all over the world, and I wasn't crazy, So from then on, as a young man, I had a couple other weird encounters, if you will, and it just sparked my interest to the point where I started doing my own EVP work and going from there, and it just snowballed into what it is today.
Well, where you research so many different things, what are your techniques, such as when you're working an investigation? Do you go into it scientific, religious, metaphysical, or spiritual based, or is it based on information you have?
There's a little bit of everything in what I do, except for I don't really transcribe too much to the metaphysical side, even though several people have told me that do that stuff, that I have abilities and whatnot, but I don't advertise that, and I don't say that because, I don't know, I think we all probably have some abilities, to some extent, and basically, each case is different depending on what it is, whether it's a haunting, if it's a residential haunting or just a haunted location, like there's a big difference in doing someone's house, investigating it versus, say, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, two totally different things, but with the same type of events that may be occurring. But, when you are dealing with someone's home that they live in and they're having all kinds of phenomena go on, there's a different approach to that. You interview the people in the house. You have to discern whether they are possibly taking psychotropic medications for whatever reason. There's a whole other ball of wax you have to deal with, when you're dealing with people and their homes. It's not just rolling in with your equipment and conducting a paranormal investigation. There's a whole other side of that. Same thing if someone reports, say they saw a Bigfoot or they saw a UFO in the sky. Each case is different. You have to approach them. There's different aspects to each one. And, I use my background in law enforcement to conduct my investigations based off any information, eyewitness accounts, and interview techniques. So that's basically how I do things.
Okay.
Hello, Dave.
Hi, how y'all doing?
My first question is, what type of scientific study or tools do you use during your investigations?
Well, I use all the typical instrumentation like millimeters. You want to, you go with some of these theories in the paranormal field that when there's manifestations of paranormal happenings, that there are EMF fluctuations, which, for the layman out there that doesn't really know too much about it, electromagnetic field, fluctuations. I use compasses too. I've had compasses. I've set them in a location and they've gone absolutely berserk, spinning around in different directions, which tells me that there's some kind of influence taking place with the electromagnetic field in that particular location. Temperature detectors, you want to try to document any kind of temperature fluctuations, because one of the theories is that when spirits or entities manifest, they actually change the temperature in a room. There's all kinds of different things. When you do this stuff, you have to kind of think outside the box sometimes. There's no set way of doing this stuff. There's no experts in this field. And you kind of got to think outside the box and try different techniques. You can do the old school stuff, throw the old powder on the floor. There's so many different things you could do. You can set up trigger objects. You can tie, one thing I've tried before is tying balloons to strings and having, with helium, and trying to see if there's any explainable drafts in a house or a location versus any, getting any movement or something possibly playing with those things. You use your mind and think outside the box and just try different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, where you also investigate UFOs, what got you involved with those types of investigations?
Well, I've seen a couple of different things in the sky. Being that I was in the U.S. Air Force for 8 years, and I grew up on Air Force bases. My stepdad was in the Air Force, so I'm pretty in-depth at knowing all the known types of aircraft we have. I grew up on Air Force bases. I spent 8 years of my young adult life in the U.S. Air Force, walking around every known aircraft we have, and I've seen things in the sky that defy all logic. Basically craft that are easily moving 10 to 20,000 miles an hour and making turns on a dime and stopping and hovering with no noise and then shooting up into space in a blink of an eye. I mean, as far as I know, we don't have anything like that. And if we did, we could probably take over the world in a couple of days, you know. So there's stuff out there we just don't know, we don't understand, and we can't explain at this point. There's many thousands of reports of these strange objects in the sky defying gravity and defying known flight techniques and patterns and everything else. And, you know, there's something going on out there.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I have on my computer, it keeps popping up ads, and I don't know how to take it away. I'm sorry for the information. I'm sitting here for hours going, how do I get rid of this shit? When I'm having an interview, people they hear it ding ding. They're like, what? Is it time to quit?
No, I could tell that was a computer sound, but it is what it is. You know, I try to use the latest and greatest equipment there is: FLIR cameras, IR cameras, full spectrum cameras, SLS cameras. You know, all kinds of different tape recorders, digital recorders. I use bionic ears and the whole 9 yards, you know, parabolic mics, everything you can think of to try to document evidence of everything I do. So, I mean, you know, that's all you can do is try to document, and try to discern whether it is scientifically explainable or not explainable as an unexplainable phenomenon, you know, that's going on out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, what made you write your book, West Virginia Bigfoot, and can you tell us a little bit about it without giving too much away, so that way, you know,
sure,
people can jump in on it?
Yeah, well, you know, have you ever seen my story on Destination America where I told the story that's in the book? Now, it's a little bit different than the book because that's what TV does, okay? That's why I always tell folks, if you want to know the whole and complete story, the true story, read the book. That book came about because of my Bigfoot experience with my grandfather. I tell my story in it, and what I did was, over the years of investigating so many different things abroad and here in the United States and primarily in West Virginia, you know, I often get accounts. I get accounts weekly from many different people, you know, whether it be state troopers, teachers, doctors, lawyers. Hey, one time in 1976, me and my family were driving down the road and we saw a Bigfoot cross the road. You know, I get all these accounts. So I said, hey, why not take all these accounts I have, because I document them all, you know, and I put them into a book and call it the West Virginia Bigfoot, because there's people from all walks of life, whether it be travelers coming through the state, people, you know, lifelong residents, whatnot, that have seen a large hairy bipedal creature in West Virginia. So that's what I did with the first book. You know, I documented it, took a bunch of those cases, took a bunch of those accounts and put them into a book along with my own. And I put, you know, I talk about some of the different theories of what Bigfoot is or what Bigfoot may be. There's some stuff in there that has to do with the Nephilim in the Bible and different, you know, make people think outside the box as to what Bigfoot may in fact be.
Well, in your opinion, what is the best area or terrain to look for Bigfoot?
In West Virginia, or are you talking just in West Virginia, or are you talking in nationwide?
Well, maybe both.
Well, I mean, if you take a look at the BFRO website, that's just one reporting site, okay? And there's just in West Virginia alone, there's over 100 accounts on West Virginia. I myself have more than that, you know, that I've taken down over the years, and there's other reporting sites. Now, that's not taking into account all the people that have had encounters or sightings that have never reported it, okay? So, and there's well over, the last time I think I looked at it, and that was several years ago, there was well over 3,000 reported Bigfoot sightings just in the United States alone. So, and that, I'm sure that number is astronomically low, okay? So really, it would seem to me that the majority of the cases seem to occur in rural areas and mountainous or wooded areas around the country. So I would, if you're an interested person into possibly investigating the Bigfoot phenomena, I would look around in your area on some of these sites and see where the concentration of sightings happen, and focus on that area and go out and do your own, do what you're going to do.
Well, where are the hot spots, located in West Virginia with Bigfoot sightings?
There's sightings all over the state, but primarily the most reported sightings and the bulk of the ones I have seem to come out of the Monongahela National Forest. It's a large, huge expanse of land, very rugged, very wild in nature. And in fact, it's a national park, and it's huge. And that's where the state takes all the problematic black bears and dumps them off. That's how remote it is. There's places in the Monongahela, or the Mon as I call it, that people have either probably never stepped foot in or haven't stepped foot in 100 years. It's very remote, very rugged. The highest mountains in the state are in that area. And I mean, in the wintertime, there's a road out there called the Scenic Highway, and there's so much snow that they don't even plow it, and it's impassable in the wintertime. So, it's just a very remote area, and that seems to me where a bulk of the sightings come, and some of the best reported sightings, the well-documented sightings have happened in the Monongahela.
Okay.
Monongahela. But there's other hot spots, too. There's a lot of sightings down in the southern counties along the Virginia border, as well as up in the northern part of the state on the border of Pennsylvania, a place called Chestnut Ridge. And there's a lot of documented UFO sightings on the Chestnut Ridge area, as well as Bigfoot sightings. The Chestnut Ridge actually starts up just above Morgantown and runs for 75 miles into Pennsylvania. And that whole ridge area is just a huge hot spot for Bigfoot and UFO sightings.
Well, most everyone knows there's a high percentage of Bigfoot sightings on the Pacific Northwest.
Right. And I call West Virginia the Pacific Northwest of the East Coast. I mean, literally, there's so many accounts here that people really don't. It's just, and people don't. It doesn't get the recognition it deserves. And Virginia has a bunch of sightings as well. So,
Well, do you think Bigfoot sightings and UFO sightings have anything in common with each other?
Yeah, there's, you're not that long ago. If you were into researching Bigfoot or you were into researching UFOs, you couldn't mention the two in the same sentence, because the UFO guys would get all pissed off, and the Bigfoot guys would get pissed off if you mention those two together. But investigators are starting to realize, hey, there's a lot of reports out there that people have seen Bigfoot and UFOs at the same time, or vice versa, UFOs and then they see a Bigfoot. So there is some correlation going on there, and people are starting to take a hard look at that.
Well, what about the paranormal? Do you think there's a correlation with UFOs and the paranormal?
Absolutely. I think a lot of this stuff is interconnected somehow. There's a lot of talk in recent years of, people are seeing what they call demonic creatures, right? But also, if you take a hard look at what the descriptions of gray aliens are, they have the dark black eyes, the large black eyes, and a lot of these demonic accounts, the descriptions are very similar to some of the grays, stories with these large black almond eyes. And then it crosses over even more into the reptilian, these demonic encounters. These creatures are said to have these large black eyes with a reptilian type of skin. So, I think there's a lot of crossover that's happening, that can correlate together, and people need to take a look at that. Remember, I said think outside the box. Not everything is as we see it.
Mm-hmm.
What evidence of Bigfoot in West Virginia, other than what you experienced as a kid, can you talk about?
As far as, what do you mean? I mean, you're talking about, huh?
As far as sightings or things that you
As far
experienced.
as me personally?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've conducted numerous investigations all over the state, and I have got knockbacks. I've got some howls and screams recorded over the years, but I've never seen another one. But I've interviewed literally hundreds of people, and we're talking credible people here, not just Joe Hillbilly down the street. I'm talking state troopers, highly trained people. Teachers, doctors, lawyers, military members, people from, that really have something to lose by even going out on a limb and saying, hey, this one time I was out four-wheeling with my kids and a Bigfoot ran across the road on the logging road we were on, or whatever the case may be. That's just one example. But these people are the same as I was. They want answers. They want to know, hey, what the heck did I see? There's something, a huge, large, hairy creature running around in the woods. What is that? And they just want answers, and they want to share their story with someone who's not going to ridicule them or, belittle them or think they're just a nut job, and that, that makes me feel good when people contact me and share their stories with me, because that's what it's all about. You got to, just talking about it, furthers the field, so to speak.
Well, how do you go about getting permission to search on private lands? And has anybody given you a hard time?
No, because I don't, if it's private land, you always have to have permission. Don't ever go trouncing around on someone's land. That's a good way to get shot nowadays. Always get permission, always. And if you don't get permission, guess what? You just don't do the investigation. I mean, that's the bottom line of it, and that goes with anything in the paranormal, whether it be a haunted house, or private land or whatever. You don't just go trouncing around on other people's property. I mean, that's common sense, folks.
Yeah. Well, have you got any evidence of Bigfoot sounds, them screaming, hollering, or using a stick against a tree?
Yeah, I sure do. There's a case I'm working on right now that was very eye-opening. The witness sent in some recordings that they went out to check their chickens and started hearing these far-off yells and howls. So they had their cell phone on them, and they put it up in the air and hit the record button. And those recordings were sent off to be analyzed, and they came back as not matching any known creature known to man. Very interesting stuff, and it's an ongoing investigation as we speak.
Wow. Well, where do you think they come from? I know some researchers, their opinion that Bigfoot's are possibly a missing link to humans. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm not too sure. I know what I saw was a living and breathing creature, whether it was an alien, a creature from another dimension, the missing link between man or something else, I don't know. I mean, until we have a body to study, we will never know. That's just the bottom line of it, the fact of it. Now, there's many people that have claimed to have shot one or have collected, some type of biological evidence and sent in. And what I find really intriguing and just very frustrating is oftentimes these things come back as inconclusive, or they never hear anything back. So that, to me, could be the signs of some type of government cover-up.
Well, have you ever used or found like any type of DNA, such hair or scat?
No,
maybe
I haven't found any myself. I have been on cases where those samples were taken and sent in, and as I said, the results came back as inconclusive on one case I did, and another case they never heard anything back. And after many, many tries of trying to find out why they never heard nothing back, they never heard anything back. No one ever responded to them. So that just doesn't make sense to me. Either say, hey, it was nothing, or it was inconclusive or something. But, the one case that I really was hopeful about, to hear what was going down with the samples that were sent in, no one ever got back with them, and no one could be reached for further comment. So to me, that's just, it doesn't make sense. There's something going on here.
Well, what do you do when you get, either a phone call or a message that someone's either heard or seen a Bigfoot? Do you like go out to the site or?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, I'm going to interview that person extensively first, and I want to try to. I use my interview techniques that I learned in law enforcement to try to catch them up and see if they're lying. I'll ask them the same questions many different ways to see if I can trip them up. And if they pass my test, then I go out, I meet them, have them show me where everything occurred, and I start documenting, and I interview them again and try to document any evidence, of foot tracks or any other evidence that may be at the site.
I interviewed another Bigfoot researcher, a few months ago, and I was talking to him about an experience that I was having here for like 3 or 4 years in a row. It didn't happen last year, but I would hear, especially around 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd hear the howling that you would hear on TV when I watch these TV shows with Bigfoot. And I live in the mountains in Appalachia. I don't live West Virginia is only 30 minutes up the road. But when I'd step outside, they'd stop. But then all of a sudden the dogs and everything and coyotes, it sounded like a war zone going on around here. But he told me that just because I heard that one, every time I would step out, the other ones that were around that wasn't saying anything or making any noises will let them know, let each other know that I was out. Is that a type of way? Is that another way that they respond to humans? It's not just one you see. If you do see one, there's more.
I mean, I couldn't answer that with 100% surety, but as we would think, a creature such as Bigfoot would seem to be highly intelligent, to be able to hide like they do. I often tell people, I live on top of a mountain surrounded by millions of acres of woods and mountains. And if I wanted to hide behind a tree right beside your house, you'd never see me. You'd never know I was there. So a creature such as Bigfoot could hide easily within the wood line around your house if you have woods, and you'd never know it was there. So people don't pay attention to their surroundings nowadays. They're too worried about their 9-to-5 job, whatever the case. They got their head buried in their cell phone, worried about, what they're going to make the kids for dinner. They don't pay attention to their surroundings, and that's a shame. I often tell folks, pay more attention to what's around you. You never know what you might see. Look up in the sky sometime. Go outside at night. Look up in the sky. You never know what you might see. And, how often do people do that anymore? They don't, because there's too much stuff going on. TV shows, the cell phones. The cell phone is the big one. It seems like everywhere you go, and I'm bad about it too. I got my head buried in my cell phone half the time, because people are messaging me or whatever. But just get out and go out and enjoy the great outdoors, because there's stuff out there, folks, that will blow your mind. I'm here to tell you.
Well, the reason why I giggled earlier when you talked about looking up in the sky, about 2 or 3 years ago, me and Mom was sitting on the porch, and it was summertime, and you could see over top of the mountains up where she lives, and we seen a red light that was going across the sky, going really, really slow, and then it like stopped and started going backwards, and I'm like, I don't know no plane that can fly backwards, and right. She's like, I started talking about UFOs and stuff, and she's like, oh, hush it, that ain't real. No sooner she said that, there was a big explosion in the sky. I'm talking about way, 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 big red fire, just sparky. I was like, what the hell? And she's like, well, I'm going in. Fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. You never know what you're going to see, man. Find a good place where it's good and dark, where you can see the sky really good, and take a good pair of binoculars, and you can see the airplanes going. They always have the red, green, and white flashing lights. That's required by FAA. And you'll see stuff out there that's flying around and moving that don't have any lights, no flashing red lights or green or white. and they're not making any movement. They're not making any noise. I mean, it's amazing.
It's true. She. Every time I try to talk her into staying out late on the porch now, she's like, "No, I'm going in."
Well, the old timers, you can't change their mind for nothing. So.
Oh Lord, no. She gives me hell for me being in the paranormal stuff. She's like, "I don't know why you're in that shit." I'm like, because of the stories you told us when I was a kid and stuff that happened.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's just bullshit. It was just to make you go to sleep. You tell scary shit just to go to sleep.
Yeah, they'll tell you stuff, that stuff ain't real, but then they'll say, well, down on, Joe Bob down the road or whatever, had this happen, they'll tell you all these stories, but then they'll say, because people are scared of the unknown. That's the bottom line. They're scared to death of it. They're scared to death of things they can't explain, see, hear, touch, and feel, but stuff happens and they don't know how to deal with it, so they just shun it off, or they'll tell you, don't mess with that stuff, it's all demons. You're messing with demons, boy. My grandfather was a Baptist minister for 40 years, and me and him are, him and I are the ones that saw the Bigfoot, and we never talked about it. He made me promise never to talk about it because he didn't want his parishioners to think that he was drinking or smoking dope or whatever, And and then when he died, I said, doing what I do, I said, I'm going to tell this story now, and that's what I did. But I kept my promise all those years, and come to find out, like 25 years before that, he told my uncle about it because he said, I want someone to know what me and Dave saw that day in case something ever happens to me, and he told my uncle about it.
Wow. Well, I've read a lot and seen a lot of shows about, Bigfoot's building nests. Have you came across, a structure like that you would consider a Bigfoot's nest or something that they built?
Yeah, I have. I've been on investigations where people were having reports or have been reporting a lot of Bigfoot activity in the area, and then they went out in the woods and near their homes, and sure enough, there's these weird structures built and really high off the ground tree branch breaks, that don't make sense, that you could tell they weren't, some of these limbs were not dead. They were green and they were snapped over and twisted and whatnot. Higher than a normal average sized man could even reach, 8, 10, 12 feet off the ground sometimes. So, now some of that could be bear activity because bears will climb up in the tree and bounce around on the branches till they bust, or will climb out trying to get honey out of a bee's nest, and that's may be there and the branches will bust. But these were, some of the ones I've seen, I couldn't explain it as a bear. There was no bear claw marks on the tree or anything, and I've seen plenty of bears in the woods, and none of them look like the Bigfoot I saw. I mean, not even close, so and that's another thing, you have a lot of skeptics and say, well, why hasn't there ever been a body found in the woods of Bigfoot, of them dying of natural causes or whatever, and there's different theories on that. Number one, I've been hunting and fishing in the woods my whole life, and I've never come across a bear carcass. And there's thousands of bears in West Virginia, tens of thousands, okay? And I've never come across just a bear carcass in the woods that died of old age, and that's simple because they, the creatures in the woods and the bugs and the worms and everything make really fast work of anything that's dead in the woods. I mean, within a couple of weeks, there won't be anything left but some bones, and then even the bones are eaten by chipmunks and other animals for the calcium. So, and then there's another theory out there that Bigfoot is intelligent enough that they bury their dead. You got to take all that into account.
Well, this is something that's always puzzled me: is how does a 7-foot, 12-foot, 400 to 1,500 pound, hairy man-like creature be able to, hide and be so elusive? You got any theories?
Well, I mean, there's, like I said, I could hide behind your house 20 yards away. You never know I was there, especially at night. It seems that most sightings occur at night with these creatures. They're more than likely highly intelligent, and just in West Virginia, I'm talking from my experience and where I've been. there's plenty of caves in West Virginia. There's plenty of places for these things to hide and go unseen. But as deforestation happens, I can't even say that word, I'm stuttering. But as that happens, more and more logging operations and things are going on, there seems to be more and more, there's an uptick in sightings. Is that because, their home areas are being logged out and whatnot? Yeah, possibly, But like I said, I don't know what this creature is. I don't know if it's some sort of alien, some sort of interdimensional creature, the missing link between man and ape. I don't know. I mean, I would love to find out someday, but until we have a body that's very conclusive evidence that can be studied, who knows if we'll ever know.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of stories out there and a lot of scuttlebutt talk of the military knowing that these creatures are some sort of alien, and they know about it. They're just covering it up. There's a real famous story, when Mount St. Helens blew up, was it 83 too, I believe, 82 or 83. There were stories from eyewitnesses that said they saw government helicopters carrying Bigfoots out of the woods, dead Bigfoots out of the woods after Mount St. Helens blew up, underneath these helicopters in like large cargo nets. So, that's pretty eye-opening and compelling stuff right there. There's just all kinds of accounts. There's military units that said they were out on training missions, in the woods, bivouacking and stuff. And one guy's account, there was a whole family of Bigfoots paralleling his unit out in the middle of the woods at night. And he saw several Bigfoots. They were paralleling his unit, just going through the woods. And then you got to take into account that these sightings of these creatures go back thousands of years with the Native Americans, and the Native Americans have passed down these stories of these large hairy creatures generation to generation.
Now, do you think the Bigfoot are the same as the giants that Native Americans have spoke of?
Yeah, I think there's some kind of correlation there. There's an account out in the west from the Paiutes, talk about these red-headed giants that would come into their camps, steal the people from the village, throw them in these baskets with spikes in them to keep them from escaping, and they would take them back to this cave and eat them, eat people. So, and there's some truth to that story because I've been in the cave. Me and my good buddy David Weatherly, we've been in that cave. We've seen the burn marks. If you read the story, it's a crazy account. The Paiutes and several tribes of the Paiutes were sick and tired of these creatures coming in, eating their kinfolk, and they all banded together and cornered them in this cave and basically told them to come out and fight, and they wouldn't. And other than a couple came out to fight, and they were immediately killed by the natives. So they stacked up all this wood and burned them all to death in the cave, And you go out to that cave, man, there's the whole cave. The inside is covered in soot and burn marks and all that. And there was a lot of artifacts found in that cave that seemed to be covered up by the government and the Smithsonian, which a lot of these accounts of giant skeletons that have been found all across the country, they seemingly disappeared overnight when they were uncovered or unearthed. And there's stories of people that work in the Smithsonian in the lower vaults say that they're, those giant skeletons were kept secret and covered up by the government.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Surprise me. Yep. And some of these giant skeletons, they had double rows of teeth for eating meat and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, and, there's a bunch of those giant skeletons that were uncovered right here in West Virginia.
Yeah, or there at Moundsville?
Yeah, Moundsville was a whole city, mound builder culture, and the whole Kanawha Valley, man. And there's still mounds that have never been excavated and stuff, all over the state.
Why haven't they uncovered them to see what's in there?
A lot of them are on private property and whatnot.
Oh, okay. That explains it.
Yeah. And, there's some now that are, I'm sure, that are so overgrown you wouldn't even be able to tell. But yeah, there's a bunch of mounds in West Virginia. The whole city of Moundsville That's why it's called Moundsville, because it's got the tallest mound in North America right there. It's right across from the West Virginia State Penitentiary, and there's a bunch of them in Charleston in the whole Kanawha River Valley. I mean, and they go into Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky. I mean, there's these giant mounds everywhere, and a lot of these giant skeletons have been found buried in these mounds. Were these some type of giant Nephilims, that they talk about in the Bible, or were they a race of giants that was, related to Bigfoot in some aspects? Who knows,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, with all the fascinating experiences you've had, have you ever experienced anything that's made you fearful or scared?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there have been times where I've been pretty unnerved by some things that have happened to me on investigations. On one occasion, me and my buddy Weatherly were at this old brothel ran by the Chicago mob, and from the get-go, from the time we walked into this place, it was super active. We were hearing female whisper voices. We heard somebody running upstairs, and it sounded like they ran down the stairs. This was from the moment we walked in the door, and then the front door opened, and there were, and shut, and we ran over there, and there was nobody to be seen, and there was snow outside, no tracks in the snow or anything, and that's how that one started. And we were up there the second night doing a ghost box session, and I was behind the camera recording him, and I went to set a piece of equipment in there. I took a static meter in there to set down on the floor beside him to see if we could get anything to hit on that at the same time. And when I bent over to set that equipment down, I felt this just cold burst of air shoot right through me, and I stumbled backwards, and it kind of knocked me for a loop for a second. And he's like, "What happened?" I said, "I don't know, man. I just felt this wave of energy go right through me." And he goes, "You don't look right. You better go sit down." So I sat down behind the camera. I kept filming him, and the ghost box was really negative, saying it was going to kill us, hurt us, all this kind of stuff. And he said, "What did you do to Dave?" And in the ghost box says, "I hit him." Ha, 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 just like that. And he said, "What did you hit him with?" And he said, "A shovel." And, the whole time I'm behind the camera, and I'm just feeling woozy. I don't feel good. I feel like I'm going to throw up. So we shut it down, and there was a whole bunch of people there because we had a small event there that night, and they were watching this go down on the live feed that we had going on the camera. And we went back downstairs, and I felt this tickling sensation on my head, right? And I reached up to feel my head, and I had a big knot on my head, and I had a cut, and I was bleeding. There was blood coming out of my freaking head. And I'm like, holy, and I pulled my fingers down, there's blood all over my fingers. And everyone's freaking out, what the hell? And they said, it hit you with a shovel. I said, yeah, apparently it did, And I had a big knot on my head and everything, and everybody saw it happen live, and I didn't hit my head on nothing. I didn't fall down, nothing like that. And when you realize something is strong enough to punch through to our dimension or whatever, and physically harm you, that's pretty unnerving, And there's been other instances where, I actually shut down an investigation at a location one night because so many negative things had happened and up until that point, we felt that we were actually in serious danger of something either hurting us physically or even spiritually, maybe trying to possess us or whatever, and we just shut it down and got out of there. But that's only happened a couple of times in my whole 30-plus years of doing this. But, in that case, we were at a place called Revenant Acres. I don't know if you've ever heard of that place, but unfortunately the owner died, and they're shutting it down. The family's shutting it down. There will be no more paranormal investigations in there now. But we were, we had, over the course of the night, we had smelled rotting flesh, the burning sulfur smell, had all these demonic things coming across recorders and ghost boxes and just crazy stuff going on. Caught a couple of really messed up looking pictures. There was some type of demonic figure in these pictures we took. And then at the end of the night, we finished up upstairs. And this was a little bitty house, And I only had one room upstairs, and we were upstairs, and we were running a ghost box, and it was, you know, we were kind of getting towards the end of our investigation anyway. But we still had another good 2 hours or so we were going to go. But so we're doing a ghost box, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it felt like a Mack truck hit the house. The whole house shook. We stumbled, and we thought someone ran off the 4-lane highway that was like 40 yards from the house and smashed into the house. You know, we're running out, looking out the windows, trying to figure out if somebody crashed. And there was nothing there. And so we, you know, of course by then we had shut the ghost box off, and we're looking around trying to figure out what just happened. And this was live on my YouTube channel at the time, and everybody heard it and, you know, saw our reaction. And they were like going, what the heck was that? And we were freaking out, you know. And so we had turned the ghost box off, and then you hear someone walking around downstairs, and it was the old type of house where it had the old heating vents, and you could see all the way down to the second floor or the first floor through those old vents. And we were, you know, I was looking down through there. We thought somebody was in the house with us, and I pulled my gun out because I always carry a gun, you know, and I'm waiting for him. I'm standing at the doorway in a crouched position ready to shoot, you know, because I think somebody's coming in on us, and nothing ever happened. We heard, and then it sounded like footsteps came right up the stairs and stopped, and nothing. And at that point, we were like, man, this is just getting way out of hand, and we felt, you know, we were in danger at that point. And for something to hit the house so hard, it punched through our dimension, it shook the entire house. You know, it's like that portal was opening and something came through that was very, very powerful. And we were just like, you know what, that's it, let's shut it down. We got enough good evidence, let's roll out of here. And that's what we did. So, you know, yeah. So I hope that answers your question. Yes.
That was a yes.
Yeah, and I often tell folks, you know, this can be dangerous. You have to, you know, there is people that have been possessed, attacked, physically hurt. Some people's lives have changed for the worse when they conduct these investigations. You know, you never know what you're going to get when you're doing this stuff, and you have to. You know, I always try to protect myself as in my belief system, and I think it's very important, you know, and because even doing that, I've been attacked and things have happened to me.
Dang. Well, what are your plans if and when you're confronted again with a Bigfoot? You know, are you going to trap it, drug it, kill it?
I don't know, man. I mean, that's probably, I was consider myself lucky, if you want to call it that, to have had the experience I did with Bigfoot. If I ever have another one, I don't know if I'll crap in my pants and run or try to document it. You know what I mean? Because when I saw that as a young man, and you saw how powerful this thing was, shaking 50 and 60 foot trees. I mean, it was huge. And my grandpa, he was a big man. He was like 6'5", you know, 250. He was, even into his 50s, he was stout. You know, he was a huge guy, and he, you know, nothing scared him. And to see him scared really scared me even more. And the size of this thing, I knew it could kill both of us without even a bit of problem. It could smash us. I mean, this thing was massive, and the rocks that it threw at us, a grown man couldn't even get his arms around it to throw these rocks. You know, these things were huge boulders, and it threw them out into the middle of the river. I think it felt like it was really pissed off that maybe we were in its area or something, like we shouldn't have been there, or it was pissed that we were catching all these fish and eating them and it didn't have any or something like that. You know, it felt that it was really just aggravated that we were there, you know, and it let us know. It was get the hell out of here, and that's what we did. We left all of our gear and everything else. So, you know, if you see the story on TV, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you read the book, you'll get a good feel for what all went down. And, you know, like I said, it really changed my life in a lot of ways, and it's the reason I do what I do today.
Well, you know, with all the people, you know, that they're in the woods and they all got a cell phone that has really good cameras and video recorders on them. Well, why do you think no one's, you know, photographed or videotaped one as well as the one for the Peterson film that was done in 1967?
Yeah, well, here's, you know, here's my take on that. I think there have probably been some decent captures out there. Unfortunately, with the way the paranormal community is, and even the Bigfoot community alone, everybody wants to hurry up and debunk it as being faked or CG'd. Now, unfortunately now, with the way computer technology is, it's really easy to fake stuff, and immediately when something new is captured, it's automatically, oh, it's a fake. It's people debunk it or they say it's fake or whatever. And the thing with the Patterson-Gimlin film, it's a highly controversial piece, but it also cannot be deemed a fake at this point. I mean, the Bigfoot is a female. It has breasts that show them undulating and moving as it walks. Back in those days, they did not have the special effects and whatnot that could be used to fake it. Even a monkey suit. The monkey suits in those days, you could tell that was fake. You could tell it was a fake suit, if anyone got into one, you could tell right away that was fake. That piece of footage is amazing, and it's been studied and, just over and over again. It's just an amazing piece of footage in my opinion, and I think there's some stuff out there nowadays that's been captured that's pretty legit too, but unfortunately there's so many hoaxers and fakes out there that, you would have to take it to every known forensic person that does, analyzing on video footage now, digital video footage and whatnot, and have it certified as not being a fake or CG'd in any way. And it costs a lot of money to do that stuff. And a lot of people in this field don't have that kind of money. They won't do it for free. That's the unfortunate part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know what you're getting at. You would think with everybody carrying a cell phone, but here's another take on that. How many people actually go out into the deep woods? Not very many.
Yeah, that's
not
true,
very many. There's a lot of hunters and stuff out there, and there's a lot of hunters out there there's hunters out there that been hunting for many, many years, never seen anything, but there's also hunters out there that have seen things and they report it. But there are also how many have seen things that don't report it because they don't want to be labeled as a kook.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just one of those catch-22 things. I think with the way technology's progressing with the thermal cameras and other things like that, one of these days there's going to be some evidence that comes out that is absolutely 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, something captured that is going to be just the wow moment, and it's going to happen one of these days.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
And now you got all the drones flying over with FLIR cameras and everything else, so.
Yeah, I actually seen a video where some kid was flying a drone and it looked like a large, hairy man that was running across the field.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's fake, but
yeah, it looked pretty good to me. See, that's what I'm talking about. It's one of those pieces that I've seen too that, hey, that looks pretty good, But what are you going to do until it's analyzed and it's, until some high-tech company that analyzes it comes out and say, hey, this is not a fake, it's real. That's what we're waiting on,
Well, do you think, that someone should shoot and kill one if the opportunity presented itself?
No, I don't. I don't think you should kill anything, and something, especially something like that, unless your life's being threatened and you have to. I'm an avid hunter and stuff, but I eat what I kill. I'm not going to eat a Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying? That to me, that'd be like trophy hunting. What if it's, what if there is, look at it like this. If there is Bigfoots running around, which I think there is, and they are a living and breathing creature that is some kind of missing link between man and ape, or just a whole nother hominid species that we don't know about up until this point, obviously they're more than likely endangered, and there's small groups of them running around all over the world. And, I give people I say, okay, think of Bigfoots like people, because, you have like the Yeti and you have so many other ones around the world. they're like people. You have black people, white people, Asian people, and there's just different, ethnic divisions of them, but they're the same creature for the most part. So, if you go to shoot one of them, it might be just like, equating that to shooting a rhino or something like that, something that's endangered. And, if it's not going to kill you or hurt you, then, you really have no business to shoot one.
Right. I agree. Well, are there any estimates on the populations of Bigfoot in North America or even around the world?
No, not that I've really seen, because there's just not any captured ones alive enough to, study them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to study something to get an estimate of the population.
Okay. What do you think they're dangerous?
Well, there have been many reports out there of people being, having things thrown at them, but it's more like, even the mountain gorilla wasn't discovered until just 50 years ago, and if people go into its territory, it's going to defend it, and it's going to raise a ruckus. A lot of it is like just a warning, it's going to pound its chest, it's going to throw things at you, stomp the ground, rush you, and that would be the same thing to me as, like I said, in my encounter, that's what it felt like to me. It was really aggravated that we were there. That's what it, but we also had a pretty good sized river separating us. Now, if it would have been on the same side of the river as us, I don't know what would happen, but, there's been accounts of, from Native Americans and even loggers way back where Bigfoots have attacked them. And, so who knows, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, why do you think most mainstream scientists are skeptical of their existence?
Well, if mainstream scientists, they're skeptical on all kinds of stuff in the paranormal. If they can't study it or recreate it in a lab, they don't buy into it. That's just how it is. They want hard proof. They want the hard proof. They want bones. They want a body. They want DNA, something they can study and say, hey, this is a real living and breathing creature. I mean, that's just scientific in nature,
But what do you think they eat?
Well, if it's if it's a typical hominid or an ape species, it's going to eat pretty much like the same things we eat. They'll eat meat sometimes. They'll eat vegetation, berries, whatever is edible, And there's plenty of food all over the place for them. We got berries that grow wild here. We've got wild onions. We've got plenty of deer and plenty of small mammals that they can eat, fish. I mean, they can eat just about what a human eats and survive on.
Well, why do you think there's so many more sightings and encounters that are reported in the Pacific Northwest than here on the East Coast?
I don't think that's true, man. I think there's just as many on the East Coast as there is the Pacific Northwest. But the Pacific Northwest is just more famous because of the Patterson-Gimlin film. That's basically what it boils down to, in my opinion. And maybe there's more reported sightings there, but that's just because people, here in Appalachia, you guys know what I'm talking about. People don't just come out and tell these encounters. They don't talk to strangers. They keep stuff both within the family, and I can go one county over, and even though I'm a native West Virginia, they're not apt to talk to me about stuff. That's just how it is. I mean, and out here in the country and stuff, people, if they don't know you or you don't know one of their family members or something, they're not going to tell you crap 9 times out of 10. You know what I'm saying? So that's just how it is out here.
Mm-hmm. Well, how can you tell, what would you tell someone how they would know that a Bigfoot, is around? Because I know I've heard myself experience with just the squalling and the knocking, but is there any other ways that they let you know, hey, you're in my territory or something like that?
I've heard accounts of, these things smacking on people's houses, smashing stuff, even eating their livestock like chickens and pigs. I saw one account years ago where they saw a Bigfoot running off with a pig in each arm, that they had. Yeah. And, there's all kinds of, just like any other creature, if they're hungry, they're going to eat, so it is what it is. You'll know, I guess one would know if you're having all kinds of strange howls and your pets come up missing or whatever. There's a lot of accounts out there where they've killed family dogs. The dogs go after them and they kill them. They don't like dogs, from what I understand and what I know and the reports I've taken and seen and whatnot. And some of them are downright ferocious, attacking people's homes out in the deep woods in the country and stuff. But again, is that a territorial thing? Is that some kind of territorial thing? You're in my area, get out, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I heard that they have this smell about them. Is that true?
A smell?
Yes.
Yeah, they smell rotten.
Okay.
Like the worst B.O. skunky smell you can think of. Excuse me, I got to cough real quick.
Okay. Like, big guy, you need a shower.
Well, excuse me. Sorry about that. I've been getting over this crud, man. It's been rough a couple of weeks. But, yeah, even down south in Florida, in the southern states, they call it the skunk ache because of that very thing, how bad this thing stinks. I've got accounts from many people talking about the smell of these creatures and whatnot. Now, when I had my encounter, I didn't smell anything because it was, quite a ways away from us. But
well, do they have a territory range, or do they mark their territory? Kind of like a bear does.
Well, some say they do with these tree breaks and these weird. I've seen accounts where, like up in the Pacific Northwest and stuff, where you'll see these very large trees that are actually pulled out of the ground by the roots and stuck in the ground upside down. Now, what in the hell would do that? And the natives say that that's them marking their territory. You don't go past this spot. This is their land. And there's Native American accounts of, that many years ago that the natives and the Bigfoots or the protectors of the forest, as they call them in some tribes, came to a peace agreement that they would mark their territory and that was their territory and you were not supposed to go into it. No humans were allowed to go into that. So there's all these different tales and accounts out there like that. They say they mark their territory with the tree breaks and whatnot. And a lot of these places, man, they have ties to Native Americans. A lot of these areas, these Bigfoot hotspots. So that's another thing that a lot of investigators and researchers are looking into.
Well, is there any evidence or proof that they might be migrant or migrant, seasonal or something like that, or do they just stay in that territory?
I think personally they're nomadic, and they move around to where the food is, just like any other animal would. In the winter months, they probably come down into the lower territories where they can find and forage for food and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, it would, different areas of the world is, the seasons and these creatures are different. Some probably thrive in the snowy areas and some don't. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
What are some questions that you ask an eyewitness?
Well, basically I use, like I said, my law enforcement background. I want to know the who, what, where, when, and why. I want to know why they were there, what they were doing when they saw what they saw, as much detail as possible, and because that's all important. You might overlook one little thing and it was relevant to what was maybe going down at the time. Basically, that's what, when I'm interviewing someone, that's what I look for. That's the questions I ask them. I want the time of day. I want, I want as much detail as possible. What was the temperature? You know, what was going on with the moon? I look at the moon phases and everything else, you know, because that may be relevant. You know, we don't know.
Well, I've noticed when I was hearing them, those 3-4 years, the moon was always full.
See, there you go. You never know.
No. Well, do other cryptozoologists, you know, like yourself, you know, get together and compare notes, or is it like the paranormal field? No one really gets together and compare notes. Everybody bitches at each other.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's like that in a lot of ways. But, you know, I have a trusted group of friends that I will bounce things back and forth with. You know, we talk about different things and compare notes and, you know, hey, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that and whatnot. I mean, that's, you know, we all have our little trusted groups of friends that we deal with, you know, in this case. But, yeah, unfortunately, you can't share everything you've got with other folks because they'll either steal it and use it, or they try to debunk you or whatever, you know, and that's a shame because that actually stymies the fields, you know. And then, you know, it's the unfortunate thing is everybody thinks they're doing this because they're going to get on a TV show, and I'm sorry to say that's just not the case, folks. It's not going to happen, you know. The chances of even getting on a TV show are slim to none, and you shouldn't be doing it for that anyway. You either love doing this and you do it because you love it and you want answers and you want to find a piece of the puzzle, or you shouldn't even be doing it, bottom line. You know, it's not about TV. TV's a bonus that may happen. And you got to remember, TV's for entertainment purposes, man. I mean, it's not just like when I was on there telling my story, they switched stuff around and added stuff that didn't happen, and it kind of aggravated me, you know. But what are you going to do, you know? I mean, it is what it is. That's Hollywood TV for you. You know, they embellish things, they add things because guess what? They're all about making money, and that's what they do. If they think something needs to be more scarier or whatever for the entertainment value, then they're going to do that. And that's what they do. They've done it on many shows, like, you know, some of the ghost shows and many other ones, you know, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I had that problem with A&E, but I got it worked out.
Well, it is what it is. Some of them will work with you and some won't, you know, they don't care. So
yeah, I mean, you're right. It surprised me when they were sitting there, this happened and this happened. I'm like, no, that didn't happen. And I'm not going to say that. You know, what the fuck are you all doing?
Yep, exactly. But that, you know, I'm often asked that question, you know, and I try to explain it like this. I say, you know, TV is a double-edged sword when it comes to the paranormal, and that's all aspects of the paranormal, whether it be UFOs, hauntings, or cryptids. It's great because it's actually opened a lot of people's minds, and it's allowed, you know, the paranormal as a whole to be more open, more talked about. Because it wasn't that long ago, man, if you were doing what we're doing right now, man, people would shun you, you're crazy, whatever. And but now it's more openly accepted and everything else, and more people are into it and everything. But on the flip side of the TV aspect, it hurts the field in a lot of ways because they embellish things. They want to say everything's a demon on TV when it comes to hauntings, and that's just not the case. And stuff like that. You know, it's just it is what it is. It's good for the paranormal, but it's also bad in other ways. So, you know, and then you got all these, because they watch a TV show, that's what you do when you go out and do an investigation. You roll into a place for an hour with all this equipment, and bam, you know, you're going to capture all of this phenomenal stuff. You're going to capture a ghost on camera, whatever. That's just not going to happen for you. I'm sorry. And if it does, you're the luckiest SOB there is, because, you know, documenting an apparition or an entity on camera is like the holy grail, and it's only been done a few times, you know, out there. So, you know, that's just what you see on TV. You know, they're spending 3, 4, 5 days at a place, and you know, they may embellish some stuff because guess what? They got to make ratings and they got to make money, and they may capture some good stuff that's legit too. I'm not saying they don't, but they're also going to make things happen if nothing happens. In a lot of cases, if you go out if you've done this for any amount of time, you know that you can sit in a place for hours upon hours and not get a single thing. And then, bam, within 2 minutes, you've got a bunch of stuff happening, and then it just stops. You know, that's just the nature of the game. You don't know what you're going to get at any given time.
That's true.
Well, do you think the internet has helped or hurt your work?
Well, I think it's helped. I mean, I think it all helps getting the word out. People are doing it. It's advancing the field in some aspects, but it's also making the field go backwards, because if you watch some of these shows, I'm telling you, man, I mean, there's people on there that have no clue what they're talking about, and they're getting on TV, and that's just a shame, but it is what it is. You know, you can't stop and worry about that. You just got to keep doing what you do. But the internet and as a whole, I think it helps a lot, because people are able to share their accounts, and millions of people can see those. You know, they can, hey, you know, they may have had an encounter or a sighting 20 years ago, and it matches up with some Joe Blow down the road that had the same thing happen to him 15 years later, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I think it helps. I think anything where you can share information is going to help, you know, in the long run.
Well, I'm assuming you keep a database of locations of the mysterious creatures you know, you've been investigating. What other types of creatures other than Bigfoot have you done any investigating?
Well, of course, you know, I've got here in West Virginia, you've got so many things. I mean, you've got the Mothman sightings that are still going on to this day off and on around the state, flying creatures of all sorts. You've got giant bird sightings, you know, here in the state. You've got goat man sightings. You've got dog man sightings. Various types of Sasquatch and Bigfoot sightings. Some may be misidentified as bears and whatnot, but just the Grafton Monster, the White Thing. I mean, you've got the Flatwoods Monster, Batchville Billy. I mean, there's so many different creature sightings here in the state. It's crazy. Giant serpents from the Native Americans. I mean, the whole 9 yards. So, you know, I've looked into a little bit of all those things over the years, and you know, it's all fascinating to me.
Well, what's your opinion on the dog men, and you know, what is a dog man?
Well, dog man is basically a werewolf. You know, I mean, let's face it, it's a werewolf. You know, and that, you know, that's old school stuff that comes over, you know, from Europe. And there's reports of vampires here in West Virginia, and witches, and there's witches' graves. I'm doing a lot of new stuff on I got a new YouTube channel that I just started up called West Virginia Monsters, and I'm going to be doing a lot of live stuff on there out in the woods. A couple of years ago, I was the first person to ever do, live Bigfoot hunts out in the woods, and kind of proud of that. You know, I was able to figure out a way to do it, and I've done it, and I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm going to do a lot of different stuff here in West Virginia on West Virginia Monsters, investigating. I'll have eyewitnesses on there. I'll have, you know, of course, I'll have some of it that's video recorded and whatnot as well, but, and I'm going to do it like, you know, seasons, like a TV show is going to be season 1 and cover like 6 or 8 different topics, and then I'll do a season 2 and so on and so on. And it's something I should have done a long time ago. I just was really doing a lot of ghost stuff for many years now, and I'm going to keep doing the ghost stuff, but I'm also going to start doing more into the other stuff I do as well, because you know, I'm all about the West Virginia history and the West Virginia monsters and ghosts and everything else. And even though I do stuff all over the country, you know, I also own my own haunted house in Indiana called Willow's Weep that doing a bunch of stuff with out there too. So
cool. Well, are there any fossil records of these, you know, strange creatures, whether Bigfoot, Dogman, Mothman, or any of the ones that you listed that, you know, maybe someone has somewhere?
Any kind of what records?
Fossil records.
No, not that I know of. Now, like I said, there is the giant skeletons that have been uncovered and covered up to most of the extent. But the thing with those is there's a ton of newspaper articles that can be researched and found about these giant skeletons all around the state that have been uncovered. I mean, they were in newspapers, here. And, unfortunately, it's like anything else. There's been some supposed photographs and stuff of the Mothman, but I don't know if those have been debunked as being CG or not. But you got to take into account, you can't discount all the eyewitness reports as crackpots and whatnot. These are people that you can look in their eye and they know they saw something. So when you're interviewing them, there's the theory out there that some of these creatures only let people see them that they want to see them, and things like that. So, who knows? It's all fascinating to me. I document as much stuff as I can and take eyewitness accounts and go out to the sites and see if I can find any legit evidence of these things.
Yeah, I'll ask him.
Okay. I have a question for you. What's your opinion on shadow men?
The shadow figures?
Yes.
As far as what? My opinion in what way? Do I think they're negative in nature or what they are or what?
Well, I recently came across one, and it scared the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
I've been doing research on them, and they're saying it's, people have their different opinions on them. Some of them think that they're aliens, and some of them people think they're demonic. What is your take on it? And do you believe in them? Have you seen them?
I too have had some shadow figure encounters over the years, and the one time I didn't feel anything. One just appeared right in front of me and went right by me, and I felt the cold wind, and I saw it, and it was all smoky in nature. And then the other one, another one where that TV show Paranormal 911 that I'll be on Monday night at 9 p.m. on Travel is a shadow figure encounter I had while I was still working in law enforcement. And I don't want to give too much away about the show, but it was really spooky, man. And it was it felt negative in the room that I saw it in, but it didn't feel negative towards me, if that makes sense. And you'll understand if you watch the show what I'm talking about. But many, many reports out there from numerous people, thousands of people that have had encounters with these things. In most cases, they seem to be negative in nature, as reported by the eyewitnesses that have experienced these things or seen them or been in contact with them for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason is. Maybe they are some type of negative entity, demonic entity, whatever wordage you want to use. But not all of them reported have, been negative in nature. At least on the accounts I've taken and reports I've seen. But the majority seem to be reported by the individuals that experience these things seem to be negative in nature. They felt really intimidated, really scared, and felt like an evil that it was some sort of evil negative presence with that was there with them at the time. And I would just say, hey, take it for what it's worth. After investigating for this many years, I walk into a place, I can pretty much tell if it feels negative, happy, sad, whatever. Go with your gut feeling. If it feels negative and evil towards you, then get the hell out of Dodge, basically. Because that's go with your gut instinct. A lot of we all have these abilities. We all, when the hair stands up on the back of your neck or your arms, your body is picking up on something there. Pay attention to it.
What is the strangest or weirdest case you've ever investigated?
In what aspect?
I would say any. I mean, this is so weird.
I would say the freakiest thing I've ever been a part of, and I was asked to film this, and I'm not going to give names or anything like that, but it was a actual exorcism, and it was a really scary, intimidating thing. This person I was asked by the church personnel to film it, and I filmed it for them. You know, I didn't take part in anything. All I was there to do was film, you know, and document it. And it was one of the spookiest, freakiest things I've ever seen. And this person was talking in different languages that they couldn't even have known. Superhuman strength, broke 2 different chairs they were tied down to while they were performing the exorcism on them. They were contorting in ways that you would have thought their bones would have broken, and things like that, and foaming at the mouth, like stuff coming out of their mouth and their, you know, out of the inside of them that was like the most grossest, vile shit you can imagine. Just, it was disgusting. And when it was all said and done, after several hours of this, the person, like, and when it was going on, it didn't even look like that person. Like, it looked like something else was, you know, you could tell something else was controlling this person. You could tell that something else was inside that person. Their eyes looked different and everything. And then when it was over, their whole looks of that person changed, and they had no recollection of what just happened. You know, so one of the most bizarre and creepy things I've ever seen in my life. And that was years ago when I was still in law enforcement and stuff. So, yeah, pretty scary stuff. There's stuff out there that will blow your mind, I'm telling you.
I bet. Ooh. Well, what's your opinion about Ouija boards, seeing how it's a hot topic in the paranormal community?
Yeah, that's one of the hot topics, has been for a long time. My personal take on it is I don't use them. I never will use them because, you know, for me, if you have to allow a spirit or entity to enter your body, because that's how you use a Ouija board, okay? You're allowing them to use your energy in your body to move that planchette. I don't do that, period. I'm not going to allow anything to use my energy or my body to move anything, if that makes sense to you. Because it's, you know, I don't feel comfortable doing it. I don't want to do it, and I've seen other people do it, and bad things have happened to those people. And I'll give you some little statistics from my standpoint. And I backed up on all my residential cases over the years, a whole bunch of them, not all of them, but ones that involved Ouija boards, and there was over 200 cases. And in 95% of those cases where a Ouija board was used, it was all negative stuff had happened to these people. They were being scratched, they were being attacked, they were in financial ruin. Many of them had divorces, many turned into alcoholics and drug addicts, and had lost their kids, all after messing with Ouija boards. So, you know, it would seem to me that the numbers don't lie, and to me in many aspects. And in 95% of those negative hauntings, a Ouija board had been used. So, you know, whether it was just messing around, you know, people, when you use those things, you're opening a doorway. And if you don't know what you're doing and you don't close it down right, you know, you're asking for trouble, in my opinion. Now, there's many people that use them and use them correctly. And if they're comfortable with letting something use their own bodies, your own spirit energy, your own energy in your body, then, you know, I'm not, you know, if you want to do it, do it. It's up to you. But I'm here to tell you, you know, it's highly dangerous. And even just doing regular paranormal investigations is dangerous, you know. Yeah, we use a ghost box or a recorder. Those are all conduits. But I'm not allowing something to take my body over and manipulate that planchette, you know. So, in fact, you know, before I go into the location, I say prayers and whatnot, and I tell them out loud, you're not allowed to use my energy, you know, at all. Leave me alone. You want to use this box's energy or the battery's energy to communicate, go ahead. But, you know, and that doesn't always work, you know. It doesn't always work, so you got to be careful doing this stuff.
Yeah. Well, where do you think the future of the
investigators? They go out and they drink. Just like some of these investigators I've seen over the years, they'll go to a location, and they rent it out or whatever, and they go get drunk, they party. I'm like, you're out of your freaking mind, dude, because not only are you lowering your protection, you're opening yourself up to all kinds of stuff. Whenever you're using psychotropic drugs or any kind of mind-altering things, to include alcohol, you are opening yourself up to bringing home an attachment or even getting possessed, So.
Oh, I agree 100%.
That's how it is, man. You got to be smart. Don't do that stuff.
That's right. You're there. You're either there to research or you're there to party. If you're going to party, don't disrespect the place and go somewhere else.
Exactly.
Well, where do you think the future of the paranormal and supernatural world is heading?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. I think with the advancements in technology and whatnot, I'm hoping that we can advance the field in many aspects. And they've already proven recently that there's other dimensions the scientific community has. So to me, that's fascinating. There's a lot of stuff being done on that. And there's a lot smarter people out there that are researching and investigating the paranormal than me that, they're into quantum physics and all kinds of cool stuff. That, maybe that's going to open up some new avenues to further the field, so to speak. And I'm excited about that, to hear about that and read about that aspect of it. But for me personally, I really enjoy interviewing the eyewitnesses. I really enjoy hearing the people's stories and accounts of strange, unknown phenomena that they've witnessed. To me, it lies within the people, and hearing those accounts and documenting them and going out in the field and doing this. There's so many investigators or so-called investigators that sit behind a computer all day and call themselves an investigator when they don't even go out into the field. And to me, that's just not how it's done, so.
Oh, I agree. Agree 100% with that one, too. Man, we got a lot in common.
I see that.
Well, here's a question I like to ask everyone. Have you ever had an out-of-body experience such as astral projected? If so, can you explain, to everyone what that means and how that affected you if you had?
Well, no, I can say I've never had a out-of-body or astral projection that I know of. But I will tell you this, when I was a little kid, I used to have this recurring dream when I was a kid, and I can remember this dream vividly to this day. From the time I was about 5 till around 12 years old, I used to have this dream that I was a boy. I don't know if I was a boy or a girl. I can't remember. All I know is I was hiding in these bushes, and there was all these troops running around burning the town that I lived in. And there were women being raped, men being killed. They were killing everybody, burning the town to the ground. And I knew if they found me, I was dead, And there were so many troops; they were everywhere, and they were marching around. And the marching was so loud, it was like thunderous because there were so many troops. And I had this dream over and over. It was always in color. I could smell the burning buildings, the burning flesh, people screaming, being killed. It was just a horrible dream. And I had it all the time, and I would always just wake up. I never knew what happened. I would just remember I was hiding in the bushes, and there was troops all around me marching around and whatnot. I could remember the uniforms these guys were wearing, but I didn't know what they were because I was little. But then when I got into middle school, we were studying Napoleon, and those freaking uniforms matched to a T to my dream, and I knew, holy crap, was I reincarnated? Was I killed when I was a kid and I was reincarnated? That's what it felt like to me. I can't say that's what happened, but it was awful strange how as soon as I saw the pictures in our history book, I knew those were the same uniforms that those soldiers were wearing that were in my dream.
Wow. I know I had kind of like a deja vu when I started driving tractor trailer. I'd never been no further past Tennessee, and first trip I had to go to California, and as soon as I drove into New Mexico, I was just amazed looking at it going, I've been here. Why the hell do I feel like I've been here? And I mean,
yeah.
And I drove a truck for 9 years, and I always had that feeling that I belonged there. I could never shake it.
That's funny you said that, because I actually grew up in New Mexico. My stepdad was in the military, and I grew up in Albuquerque.
Oh wow, I love New Mexico. I do. I don't know why, but I'm drawn to it. It's beautiful.
I went to school all the way through high school out there, and then I would always, come home to be with my dad and both sets of my grandparents on the summers and on holidays and stuff back here to West Virginia. And I loved it out there. I loved it out west, and I was stationed in Tucson, Arizona too. In the military for my first 4 years. But it's a different world out west, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I try to tell my kids. You get a chance, get your ass out west, man, and look and enjoy it, because it is beautiful out there.
Oh yeah.
Well, Dave, we're just about out of time, so I appreciate you. First off, for coming, waiting out till I was able to get everything fixed up. But if you can, let everybody know the rest of your plans for 2019. Any projects, anything you're working on that you can talk about, and how people can get a hold of your book, and any contact information and so forth like that.
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, I'll give you my website where they have everything that I'm doing and upcoming events I'll be speaking at. The website is www.davespinks.paranormalinvestigator.com. Also, I'd like to talk about an event I'm having at Willow's Weep June 21st and 22nd, Friday night. The Haunted Collector, John Zaffis, and me and my good buddy David Weatherly will be doing a public ghost hunt there for the first 20 people that buy tickets. You can buy tickets off the Society of Supernatural site by PayPal, you'll see the PayPal link on the posters to buy tickets for that. You get, with those VIP tickets, they're $125, but you get the Friday night ghost hunt and all-day speaking events on Saturday. So that's going to be a really fun time. And then you can check out my YouTube channels, Real Supernatural on YouTube or West Virginia Monsters. Check those two channels out I'm constantly doing live investigations and doing putting up videos on those channels. My new book is about to drop any time now, called Real West Virginia Hauntings Volume 1, first of a series I'm doing. If you want to pre-order that book, be one of the first to get a signed copy directly from me, you can PayPal me, paypal.me/Real Supernatural, $23, and you'll be one of the first to get a signed copy. If you pre-order now, $23 too, and include your shipping address. And you can also get the West Virginia Bigfoot book, my book that came out last year. You can get that off of Amazon, or if you want a signed copy from me, just send $18 to the same PayPal. You can see all that on my website. And lots of stuff coming this year. This coming Monday night, I'll be on Travel Channel, Paranormal 911. To share an encounter out of the new book that's about ready to come out. And April, I believe it's April 4th or April 17th. I'm getting the dates confused, but one of those dates I'll be on the Travel Channel again. A new show called In Search of Monsters. Me investigating the Point Pleasant bunkers with Mothman stuff. Really cool. And then in late May, early June, I'll be on a new show on History Channel called The Unexplained. I'll be on multiple episodes of that, so check those out. And check me out on Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff. I think that covers it.
Well, I'm going to add that he'll also be at the Phantom Fest November 2nd down here in Lebanon, Virginia. For all you people that would like to, he's going to be speaking. He'll have I'm sure he'll have his books there. And he'll be there to talk and write and sign and give him money.
It's not about the money, man. I just use the money to finance more equipment and more, investigation. So, I'll be there. It's all listed on my website on the upcoming events page. your guys' event is on there as well, and I'll be there in November. It's going to be a good time.
I can't wait to meet you and shoot the shit with you some more.
Absolutely, man. I look forward to it, and thanks for having me on the show tonight.
Oh,
Anytime.
Thank you for coming on. And again, I apologize for the little technical glitch.
Oh, no worries, man. I know how it is on these podcasts and these, these internet radios, especially Blog Talk. I mean,
Blog Talk.
They've had a lot of problems over the years on Blog Talk. So hopefully they'll upgrade that at some point.
Yeah, you think? It'd be nice. Well, Dave, we appreciate you coming on. Doors always open for you. Always welcome. Anytime you want to come back on and go at it again. You have a good night, great weekend, stay safe, and good night. Good night.
All right, guys, you too. Yeah, you too, man. I appreciate it. Have a good night and take care.
Hey, you too. Thanks a lot.
Good night.
All right, bye-bye. Good night.
Well, people, that was Dave Spinks. Oh, man, that damn thing going to blink, blink, blink. I'll go ahead and get rid of it. Go on. Like I said, I want to thank Dave for coming on the show. Nothing but respect for all the hard work he's doing. Our guest for next Thursday night, March 28th. I couldn't read that. It looks like a 3. I was going to say, well, that's Saturday. Will be the outlaw Tiffany Sparks. Y'all want to know anything about moonshining? This is a girl that we're going to talk to and get her drink on. So next weekend, make sure y'all get your bottles ready, or your mason jars. So, you anything you want to say?
Good night, everyone.
Oh, mercy. Good night. Like I said, everybody have a good weekend. Now, where the hell's that button? I can't even get to the buttons with all this shit popping up. Let me see. End show. There it is. That's it for us tonight. I want to thank everyone that took the time to listen in. I'd like to give a big shout out to the Vibe Radio Network and to Ryan for putting up with us. Also to all the first responders and our men and women in the armed services. Thank you for your service and the sacrifices that you and your families make every day to keep our great nation safe. Tune in next week to another exciting show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone can go to our Facebook page Within the Chaos, and don't forget to like our page to see upcoming guests along with past shows, postings, or you can also go to my website at www.blackdiamondps.org or blogtalkradio.com/Vibe Radio Network. Also, we have a YouTube channel, so go to YouTube, look up Within the Chaos for past shows. Thanks again. Until next week, everyone have a safe weekend and have a good night. And love you all. Be careful out there.
I'm sorry. But I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another, Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
Have your devices just randomly stopped working? Are you having IT trouble? Not to worry, Mead's PC Repair Shop can help. We also offer IT support too, including website hosting. We are now also offering full event management services. To find out more, contact our friendly customer service team who will gladly help in any situation. Just call 276-880-8900, or if you prefer, you can stop by our shop at 1089 St. Clair Street, Oakwood, Virginia, 24631 by appointment only, or by visiting the website at meadspcshop.com for more information. Thank you.